Words are tough, aren't they? Have you ever thought, oh, in my big mouth, I wish I hadn't have said this or that? Most of us have had that experience, and honestly, most of us will probably have that experience again sometime in the future. James 3:2 said we all stumble in many things, and in that larger context, he is talking about the tongue. I encourage you to go back and read that, starting at verse 1, and go on down to the bottom of that paragraph and look at what he has to say about speech and the tongue. And stumbling is that's part of the learning process. No one bats 1,000. No one does it perfect the first time. The thing is, we just keep getting back up and pressing on the upward way. That's that persistence, that pressing on that Paul would talk about. So in our speech, we talk sometimes about people whose filter is broken. And that's a fun little joke, and I think a lot of us know some folks that are a little bit prone to say something before they ever give it a thought. That's kind of sad, actually. Now, let me do one little clarification. If we're talking about somebody who honestly has mental issues, let's say Alzheimer's, or maybe they're suffering from some kind of complications from a stroke, we get that. We're not saying anything about those people. We're talking about the folks who have the sense to go about their daily affairs of life. They can dress themselves, they can get their food, they know how to go to McDonald's and order, they can get in the car and go drive around the town all they want and do the things they want, watch the shows they want, even get on Facebook or maybe get on the internet and do a little bit of shopping. You know the kind of people we're talking about. Sure, they're getting old, they're getting a little more feeble. Years catch up with all of us. But I don't recall reading anywhere in the Bible where we get a free pass for a broken filter. Our mouth is something we learn to control. And as we get older, maybe we ought to talk less if we feel we can't control what we're saying. Because one thing you can't do is you can't unspeak anything. I mean, most husbands have run into this. A man's memory is only about that long for the most part. And a woman, well, she can remember things a whole lot better than a man. Actually, a woman is a lot better at the academics and some intellectual things, especially related to words, than what men are. That's just basically proven science through various studies. And so most men have had that experience where they said something and right after it came out, the look on their wife's face told them, man, if I could suck that back in and unspeak it, I would right now. But there's no way you can unspeak it. Once it's heard, it's heard. Oh, sure, you can apologize for it and you can say, oh, that's not what I meant to say, or that's not how I wanted that to come out, but you can't take it back in. And you may get by with an apology a time or two. But if it becomes a habit of saying stupid things, yes, the apologies look about that deep, don't they? They don't carry any weight anymore once this becomes a habit and a repeated experience over and over and over, far too common. Otherwise, sure, we'll forgive a misspeak now and then because we're all human. No one works this mouth 100% perfect all the time. We ought to be gracious to one another. Now, one of my favorite Dr. Phil quotes is, life, you set it up. I think that is so true. Yes, there are things that happen to us that we did not plan and we did not initiate, but we are responsible for how we handle those things and how we use our mouth when those things happen. Furthermore, we set up life in a lot of ways. We set up the tone of our marriage by the tone of our voice. We set up our marriage and how it works by even just the tone of our body language. How we communicate sets up our life. So if people are standoffish from you and distant, it's because they perceive you as uncomfortable to be around, and you set it up by the way you communicated. This is the way it works. If people think you're weird, you're some kind of nut or Looney Tune, okay, they've got enough experience with you. They've made that conclusion based on the evidence you gave them. Might not have been your intention, but it was the evidence you gave them. Life, you set it up. If you're gullible, life, you set it up. Are you cranky and critical? Life, you set it up. Is your marriage just not going the direction you want it to go? And I realize it takes two to make a marriage work, but one person doing the right thing can have tremendous impact on a marriage. Life. You set it up. And our mouth is probably the biggest single factor that we have going for us in this direction. So we need to own it. We really need to own it. And you back off from time to time and you just ponder. I know what I meant, but I wonder how that's coming across to other people. I wonder if I sound compassionate, or do I sound cranky? Do I sound patient, or do I sound impatient? And if you're really, really brave, you may get a friend to kind of give you a little insight on how you appear. Friends probably just going to tell you what you want to hear, How many of us really want to tell folks the absolute blunt truth that we know they're going to push back against? And, it just gets to be a really uncomfortable situation. I think that's why 2 Corinthians 13:5 says, examine yourself. Yes, we need to help one another. I agree with that. But self-exam is where you need to go, and you really just need to own it. And when you blow it, and don't we all blow it from time to time? When you blow it, just go, okay, I blew it. James 3:2. We all stumble in many things. Guys, I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. That didn't come out right. It's my fault. I'm going to try to do better next time. Don't blame somebody else. Just own it, learn from it, and grow. Now, if you will own it, learn from it, and literally demonstrate in the days and weeks and months to come that you have grown from it, we will love you to death. Absolutely. But if you deny it, blame other people, and make excuses, and keep doing the same old behavior over and over again, we may still love you, but we're not going to think as high of you. It's the way it works. Put your comments below if you'd like. Give it some thought. And as always, have a great day.